That war on drugs is like the gift that just keeps on giving.
Let's take people down, man. Let's fill these private prisons.
I've noticed the courthouses are full.
Yeah.
Parking lots are full.
Business is good.
Well, yeah, it's picking back up.
Yeah, the business of,
That war on drugs is like the gift that just keeps on giving.
Let's take people down, man. Let's fill these private prisons, man.
That's right.
Let's get the cash rolling in. The war on drugs is fascinating, right? That was a Nancy Reagan concoction, or at least she ran point. Yeah, at the beginning, right?
Yeah, that was. Well, the war on drugs goes back to the 1920s or 30s. Nixon stepped it up. Reagan stepped it up. And it's all been a failure, just like trying to stop prostitution's never been successful.
Don't you think the war on drugs, though, is a lot like the Patriot Act, right? It just gives them more broad sweeping.
Absolutely. You remember when Judge Napolitano went on his rant and lost his show off of Fox?
Yes.
That was one of the questions or the points he made is, what if the war on drugs is really just a jobs program for law enforcement and to fill the prisons and to concentrate more power in the hands of the government? And, of course, there's a lot of evidence that that's exactly what it is.
You know, people a lot of times when they talk about, if I talk to people about how crazy I think the prison and law enforcement, just all of it is. You know, I've had people on the podcast like Greg Kelly put in jail for 5 years for aggravated sexual assault he didn't commit. It was finally found that there was corruption at high levels with his defense attorney working with the DA. He got out. He got a settlement from Texas. Just craziness, right? Yeah. And you have people, high-profile people like Kim Kardashian pushing for prison reform, getting people who are on death row exonerated, the Innocence Project, et cetera, et cetera. When you talk to people about how many humans we imprison in this country, and the bulk of those are nonviolent or start as nonviolent drug offenses, is there a way to fix this, or it's just another LLC and it's so ingrained? And when people like even Trump talk about the rule of law, right? And he's up there, he's preaching like a televangelist about the rule of law to get all the right. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about people who've been in prison for 20, 30 years because they got a little too much pot on them.
Well, that's changing. We have kind of shifted already because, you know, we call ourselves the land of the free, but we have the world's highest incarceration rate. And back when Ann Richards was governor and the federal government came up with their federal sentencing guidelines, crack cocaine was a big problem. They built all these new prisons. And then all of a sudden the violent crime rate plummeted. And it was basically because of Roe versus Wade had kicked in. And that pool of violent criminals diminished. In other words, it took 14, 15 years for the effect to be felt. And a lot of those babies were aborted that would have become gang members or thugs or whatever.
There's stats that back all that up.
Yes, and about the same time also, they did start to figure out that it's really expensive to incarcerate people, and that most of those drug offenders were there for possession, nonviolent possession of a small amount. And that's when they came up with the state jail felony.
Yeah, not trafficking or distribution.
That's right. You get caught with a grammar lesson. So they came up with, it was a really bad idea. They made it what's called a state jail felony. Rather than reducing it to a misdemeanor. By making it a state jail felony with a different set of rules, they built a whole new slew of prisons, which meant a lot of money to contractors. Then they were empty when they first built them. And so they started renting out the space to prisoners from other states. And as they gradually became filled, then they stopped taking prisoners from other states. But a state jail felony, they have to give you probation. Okay, you can get up to 5 years probation for it. That's possession of a gram or less of cocaine, heroin, or cocaine, heroin, or
like methamphetamine.
Yeah. So what they did is they have gradually shifted from mass incarceration to mass probation, diversion programs, supervision. But even so, that means there's still an enormous role for government to play. You know, you have to supervise these people, probation officers, people teach them, they go through these programs. It would be, I think, cheaper if they just got out of the drug war business altogether and had public service ads saying, look, are you tired of drugs impacting your life negatively? Enroll in this program and spend that money instead on health care or voluntary programs that people could. Most people don't want to be addicted to anything.
No, rehab, counseling.
That's right.
Other possibly alternative methods of recovery as well, as you see things like psychedelics coming back into, just the general consciousness as a solution for many things.
That's
PTSD, right. Addiction, depression, anxiety, etc.
That's right. The psilocybin mushrooms, there's some really promising research.
Ketamine as well, ibogaine as well, all these things that can really help people that were outlawed in the 60s by the government after.
Not only was it outlawed, but then they weren't studied properly.
Right. Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the JESS Marshall YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.